I heard, which is interesting, that Walmart, even though they're enormous, still looks over their shoulder. And Walmart is most concerned with eBay and internet shopping for low price goods, because the Walmart strategy, of course, is the least expensive whatever. And they don't necessarily see Costco or one of the other discount places as being their primary competitor. They see the internet as their primary competitor. And when you're as big as they are and the internet is still relatively youthful, I think that's pretty darned amazing. Let's see. Well, it goes back a lot longer than you say, but if I look at the very narrow sphere of my own life, from an innovation standpoint, which has turned out to be a marketing standpoint as well, by far the most important thing I've done in the last 30 months is blogging, and just really very active involvement in the blogging world. And holy smokes, it's fun. It's the greatest marketing tool known to humankind. For people like me who are often treated with far more respect than we should be, nobody gets any respect at a blogging site. And so you really do get feedback that's unadorned. Has to be very careful, and there's not enough tape to say it all, because sometimes something that looks little can be big. And then on the other, obviously you've got an iPod at one end, which is kind of a different way of the world, or an eBay or a Google. But I remember years ago I did some work with the snack food, the Frito-Lay division of PepsiCo. And they did something small, which was just bag size changes. There was one size bag for potato chips, and that was it. And so they made little bags and they made big bags, and what they discovered was they had invented entirely new markets. Now, my own primary bias is the best way to innovate for you or for me or for the company or for the human resource people or whomever is to make sure you are partnering with, or at least going to lunch with, truly strange people. Because my theory is that most people don't want to innovate, they need to be dragged into innovation. And one of the things I say to particularly big company clients is you need more interesting small customers. It's, the big customers required, allows you to make your profit, sends your kids to private school, whatever. But the small, interesting company is what really leads you to start doing, the way I describe it, is doing the year 2016 in the year 2006. Because the real truth is everything innovative is already happening somewhere, and the secret is find it. And if you're a big company, that's very difficult, because you say, oh my God, I've got to have an extra $500 million US in revenue this year, so I can't afford to fool around with this person because it's too small, and that's wrong. Innovation, both incremental and fundamental, is just as important in finance and purchasing and information systems and human resources as it is in some laboratory for a pharmaceutical company. And I think one of the biggest problems that some companies have is they think, oh, innovation, that means new products. Well, you take a look at a company like Dell Computer. Their magic potion, certainly not better computers. It's a better distribution system, a better manufacturing system, a better sales system, and so it's the systems people and the purchasing people who are the innovation heroes. So it should involve every person. There was an old rule that a lot of people talked about for years and years at the 3M company, and that is every scientist was allowed to spend 10% of his or her time on projects that were of their own making, stuff that turns you on. Well, our good friends at Google have doubled that. Every engineer is required to spend 20% of his or her time on projects that they've dreamed up themselves as opposed to their official corporate projects. So it means that everybody is in the business, at some level, and this is a really stupid statement at another level, the chief executive, if innovation is the most important way to stay ahead in the world with so many Chinese and Indians and other new competitors, then the woman or the man in charge becomes, in effect, the chief innovation officer. Seldom is it the big existing companies. It's not Microsoft that invented search, it was Google. I mean, by all rights, it should have been a Microsoft because they're the leader and they had a 90% market share in the desktop operating systems and so on. And so the best way to keep big companies on their toes is with small companies who are doing exciting stuff. In my speech today, I talked about the problem that the big pharmaceutical companies are having. Well, part of that problem is all of these startups among the biotech companies that are just moving much faster, and really the giant companies have, by comparison, are going as slow as a tortoise. They are your principal market. And if you are going to deal with them as a number one market opportunity, then in terms of product development, in terms of distribution strategies, in terms of marketing strategies, your leadership team had best look like the market you're serving. I used a slide today from the Chief Executive Officer of PepsiCo, Steve Reinman, and he basically said our executive team ought to look like our market. And if you look at Pepsi in the United States, it's women, it's the incredibly fast-growing Hispanic market, it's this phenomenon of single heads of households who now dominate all of the big cities. So that's part one. Part two is my belief is that the new organization has to be more agile, and to be more agile, you need to be less hierarchical, and hierarchies are men kind of things. Men like order, and they like to know whether I outrank you or not. And women, for reasons that date back tens of thousands of years of community, is in your genes and it's not in my genes. When the sun rose 70,000 years ago, I packed my spear under my arm and I went out into the wild to try to kill animals. And meanwhile, you were creating community and guarding community, and so the whole relationship thing is natural to women, it's unnatural to men. One small piece of that, which I strongly believe, is that women make better salespeople, because sales is a relationship game, period. You know, whether you're selling movies or whether you're selling information technology projects. And so I think that the less hierarchical, more fluid, more comfortable with indirect power world, the more women should and eventually will take their place more and more at the head table. All the world today is about projects. Projects used to be people who worked within HSM or whomever. A project today that's at all complicated is 72 people from 22 companies from 7 countries on 3 continents, and nobody's in charge. You know, you can't order so-and-so to do anything. And in a world where that kind of order giving is not as important as it was, then I think that directly plays into the strengths that women bring to the party. My definition of success is playing the game as hard as you can, creating exciting projects, not agreeing to do business as the way it's been done. If it leads to financial rewards and so on, that's fabulous. But nobody is, as I like to put it, and I think I stole it from somebody, nobody ever puts their net worth on their tombstone. And the question is what you did you participate fully? Did you absolutely insist that everything, I spent a lot of time, obviously, going back 20 odd years with the word excellence. or the idea of excellence, and did you really pursue excellence in whatever you do? If I ever finish a speech and I can still stand up, then it was a lousy speech. It's the last drop of energy. I mean, look, we talk about talent, we talk about intellectual capital. We don't have to make this stuff up. The actor or actress who played a lead part in a 4-hour theatrical performance is full of energy and vitality, and she walks off the stage and she literally falls down. Same thing is true of the ballerina, same thing is true of the football player, same thing is true of the first violinist, and to me there shouldn't be any difference between first violin, ballet, football, and the person who's really contributing to a project. If you don't fall over, then you weren't going hard enough. And I don't mean 24-hour days. I mean just whatever you're working at. You know, somebody said, gosh, I wish I could remember the quote. It was one of those wonderful quotes that said something like, every day that you don't do something exciting, you have stolen. You've been a thief. You've let this time just disappear out of your fingers. The fact that I'm gonna sit in the front of the plane and fly to California, spend a lovely night, lovely weekend with my wife, and that 3 billion of the world's population doesn't have clean water to drink. And I think sometimes, whether it's Brazil or whether it's the United States or Germany, we get so caught up in what's going on in the room next door that we forget how strange we are in a world of 6 billion people. And I worry that I'm not doing my fair share. And time is running short. I mean, one thing I have just really focused on starting in the last 6 or 8 months, it's going to be a very primary part of what I do professionally, is healthcare. Guru in this business by the name of Warren Bennis was the only person who really knew Peter Drucker and me well. Only person on earth. And somebody asked him about the two of us at one point, and he said, if Peter Drucker invented modern management, Tom Peters repainted it in Technicolor, which I found very flattering. And the point is, to your point, I have never believed that business was dry, drab, dreary, dispassionate, and by the numbers. The numbers, among many other things, are important, but the answer is business, like life itself at its best, is about enthusiasm, energy, passion, commitment, individual growth, service to customers, service to vendors, service to communities. It really, at its best, is a good thing. I think there's an incredible amount of energy, for example, in HSM, and there's a mission. HSM is helping people deal with a world in incredible transition within its sphere in a way that nobody's quite done before, and that's cool.